Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next Principal Cadre webinar. I'm Steph Wanek, and we're happy you could join us today. We also look forward to joining you at the Norfolk Public Schools District offices on Tuesday, March 11th from 9:30 to 2 for our next Principal Cadre. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of having an instructional model or common language for your school. It helps with communication and understanding. One of the reasons why we want to talk to you about this today is, of course, you know that we are involved in a Marzano 3-year training, and part of our duties for that class are to bring out and share the information with you. And Marzano thinks that and has researched that having an instructional model in place at your school district is essential to many of the efforts that we've talked to you about this year, including teacher reflection, which will be the topic of next week's Principal Cadre. So for teachers to reflect on their teaching and to have great conversations with each other about their teaching, they need to have that common language. Also, NDE urges schools to have this in place as the new principal and teacher evaluations roll out. We know that next year will be the second year of their piloting, and we actually just watched a live meeting yesterday with 2 of the schools that are in the piloting of the teacher and principal evaluation, and they said that they were kind of thrown into this pilot without a model and just had to adopt one as they were starting the pilot, and it wasn't easy. So they urged all schools to pick that model before they start the new teacher and principal evaluations. So those sound like some pretty good reasons to listen in today. Okay, have you ever had a misunderstanding due to language, vocabulary, or jargon? Let's watch a video clip and see what can happen.
So, Richard, have you sorted those problems out yet? Well, I've been thinking things through, right? I've been turning them over in my mind, but I just can't quite get there. The idea's not fully formed. It's not, what's the word? Crystallised. What? Yeah, there's no crystallisation going on. It's not crystallised in my mind. What are you talking about? You know what I'm talking about. It's a bit like your pension. Crystallise. Crystallisation. Crystallise your pension. No, I've never understood that. No, to be honest, neither have I. Should we bin it? Ah, let's bin it. Yeah, let's bin it. Bin it.
Okay, so we see in this video that the 2 businessmen didn't exactly understand their vocabulary, but yet they were willing to bill out their clients and proceed even though they didn't fully understand what they were doing. And we have to ensure that teachers don't do that sort of thing, that they are not just proceeding along with education even though they're not understanding what they do, they don't understand the jargon, they can't fully use the concepts. That would affect kids, definitely. So what are the benefits of using common language? The Florida Literacy and Reading Excellence professional paper says, in order for schools to engage in conversation designed to bring about sustained changes in classroom instruction, it is important to develop a culture of learning and sharing that allows teachers to discuss important issues. Included in developing that culture is the need to find time to establish and develop a common language. So one of the benefits is definitely ease of communication. Teachers can understand each other. They don't have those misunderstandings like in the video clip that we just watched. It will help you sustain educational initiatives in your district. The staff keeps focused on the goals and directions of the district. You'll go to a training and can continue talking about these, putting that the strategies of that training into action in your school. Teachers can problem solve parts of it, and it keeps alive in your school. Put your dollars to work too. You can also build a culture of learning and sharing. Teachers learn from one another with clear understanding that is desired. So we know that teachers talk at the lunch table every day, and they talk in the teacher's lounge and while they're making copies. And this will help if they're all on the same page and all using the same vocabulary, they'll be talking about more beneficial things like a strategy that they're using and things that went right or things that went wrong. They'll learn from each other, and we know that that's always a good thing to have them to bounce ideas off of and support one another as they proceed with different strategies. It also allows all staff members to participate in the discussion. It puts the counselor on the same page as the classroom teachers and maybe the speech therapist. They're all working with the same students. They all need to communicate the same way so that they can be on the same page there. Also, involve your paraprofessionals in some of the discussions and trainings and have them up on the vocabulary of your school so that they can best meet students' needs. Also, if your school uses professional learning communities, or just any other meeting, you can have deeper, more meaningful conversations about student achievement. A common language in your school creates consistency. Consistency as students go through the system from year to year. Also, it creates consistency from classroom to classroom so that students can know what to expect from different teachers, and students become more familiar with some of the key words and concepts for their education. It also encourages effective teaching. Dr. Marzano talks about teachers who are very familiar and comfortable with the strategies and self-monitoring and using the strategies when appropriate. So they're very comfortable with the strategies. So something starts to go wrong in a lesson or a child doesn't understand, immediately they jump to their strategies and can start to problem solve that out and better teach that student to get to full understanding. Whereas the teachers that don't have a full understanding and a full arsenal of strategies have to wait and research those things, and then that lesson day may be lost for that student. So now we've come to the point of defining a common language for your school. How is this going to happen? Well, let's listen to Dr. Marzano here and see what he has to say about the topic.
For years, I've believed that one thing we're lacking is a common language of teaching, common language of pedagogy, common language of instruction. Certainly not my idea. Madeline Hunter years ago talked about this need, that One thing we need in our profession, it doesn't have to be the same, across the country, and that is a common language, how we describe effective teaching. Some of you might remember Madeline Hunter's lesson design, and even though she warned, not to think every lesson should look like her particular design, it had 7 steps to it, things like anticipatory set. What was so nice in those days is you could talk about anticipatory set and everybody knew what you meant. Now we've moved on since that her lesson design, and now we know there's more to teaching than just a lesson. In our model, the art and science of teaching, we've collapsed 40 plus categories of instructional strategies into 3 broad areas: routines, things that occur and must be dealt with on the spot, and then 3 different types of lessons, if you will. And we say that a school or district, we recommend that they start with our model, so they don't reinvent the wheel, but then make adaptations, which means they add things, they delete things, they change things, so that the school, or better yet, the district, everybody in it talks about good teaching the same way. And obviously, the teachers and administrators are involved in adapting if they're starting with art and science teaching, making those adaptations. So it's theirs. It's theirs. I mean, it's in a sense homegrown, even though you might have started with our more generic framework. I think the potential impact on a school or district, first of all, communicates a message to everybody in the school or district that we're serious about good teaching here. So when you come into the school or district, here's our language of instruction. We talk about good teaching this way, in these categories. And we expect you, to think about this as you're planning instruction. And if you're not getting the results that you want in terms of student learning, we expect you to use that model, to identify your strengths and weaknesses, and then start to work on your weaknesses. So it creates this platform that allows for real reflective practice, intra-teacher, teacher looking at themselves, and between teachers, so inter-teacher, where they're focusing on good teaching, and then the school or district actually becomes a place where you get better at teaching as a result of being in the school or district. And that all starts with a common language of instruction. It can't be a narrow language of instruction. It has to be robust enough to encompass the complexity of the teaching learning process. So for us, a language of instruction is the first place to start. We say, perhaps in a self-serving way, we say, you start with art and science of teaching, get yourself grounded in that, and then make adaptations. But now you've got that, and now you can start having effective feedback. Of course, that's where technology comes in, and that's where we recommend our platform and observation. But now you can gather data on that. It can be the focal point, the hub of all activity in the district. Good teaching, which translates into more advanced learning on the part of students, and that's the core of what occurs in the school or district. Now, for me, that's a professional place. It really is. And without that, you can't really say it's a professional place. If teachers close their door, they do their thing, they do good things, but they're never interacting with any other professional about this very complex thing called teaching.
Okay, so we hear Dr. Marzano talk about creating that robust vocabulary that's going to help teachers. We know that this needs to be a very detailed vocabulary. It reminds me of the fact that the Eskimos have 50 words for the word snow, and we just say snow. And that's because snow was a big part of their life. And so with teaching, we need to get so detailed that we have very specific words for different concepts and strategies that we use with our students. So let's see, how would we go about defining this common language with our staff? Well, first of all, it's going to involve some staff conversations. You need to involve your staff in this process. I will say that again. You need to involve your staff in this process. This cannot be something just handed down to a school. It creates an authentic program for your school, and it gives teachers a say in things so that they have more buy-in for using this common language. So while teachers are working together on these conversations, some things that you should encourage are focus and concentration. This is a meaningful discussion. More organization, creativity, and imagination. Enthusiasm. Risk-taking. Motivation to learn and improve student learning. Reasonable goal setting. Listening. Time management. Effective decision making. A philosophy of learning. Self-evaluation and reflection. Confidence. Okay, so as your teachers begin to discuss a common language, have them think about these 4 aspects. The language itself, the words that you would use. Best practices that we know are researched and that are maybe already occurring in your school system. Goals and beliefs. They might describe effective instructional planning, instructional delivery, assessment, and learning environment. Now, you will find that all 4 of these categories are in every instructional model out there, whether you are a Marzano or a Danielson or APL or many other of the instructional models. They all use these 4 categories. So it's really important to have teachers focus on this area. You have choices to make at this point. Are you going to select a pre-existing model like Marzano or Danielson? That's what the pilot schools had to do. They went with a pure system of either Marzano or Danielson in our state. Are you going to create your own model or customize a pre-existing model to meet your school's needs? Okay, so we're not saying because ESU 8 is involved with Marzano, you have to use the Marzano's 41 strategies. That's not what has to happen. You have a choice here. And please involve your teachers in making this choice. Okay, whatever choice you do make sure it's based on research. This is not a time that we can use the statements of I think or I feel. We must know what has been proven to work in other schools. We can't take the risk of the I thinks and I feels. So let's start talking common language. Developing a common language is one of the foundations for a strong professional learning community that supports growth and development across the curriculum. Supporting one another with effective communication skills is one piece of the puzzle for effective leadership teams and quality instruction. Relationships can develop that will encourage and support independent inquiry for all learners. I have a video clip to show you as we remember the importance of a common language.
You don't push that on me. We should touch base by COB about key learning. Don't boil the ocean. Admire your pan full of fruit. We can bacon a value add. We need to solutioneer a new functionality. It's a paradigm shift. Schedule a conversation around our objectives. Give it a Smith test and turn it up the flagpole.
How can we seamlessly impact emerging paradigms?
Think outside the box. Circle back on that. It is what it is. I'll be in my office actioning my deliverables.
Thanks for firewalling off some time today.
I'd like to idea showering some value adds.
Let's blue sky our thinking.
Get your ducks in a row!
Taking care of business. Taking care of
Okay, so we see that sometimes the jargon can be confusing, and we all need to be using that common language that makes the communication much easier than all the jargon. Thank you so much for taking part in this webinar. We welcome the opportunity to work with your staff on developing a common language. It would be a good idea to get us on your books for the fall. We really look forward to working with your staff and collaborating on this. And just one more reminder that next week, March 11th, we will be meeting at Norfolk Public Schools district offices from 9:30 till 2 on teacher reflection, and lunch will be provided. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.